Welcome to In the Zone and Construction Executives Live, brought to you by U.S. Construction Zone, bringing you strategies for success with construction innovators and change makers, including In the Zone peer-nominated national award winners. Here's your host, Jeremy Owens.
Welcome back to Construction Executives Live. I am your host, Jeremy Owens, owner and founder of 3 Generations Improvements and U.S. Construction Zone out in sunny Northern California. We have not quite hit full fall yet, but the trees are turning. Things are looking great. I'm enjoying the cooler weather. Hope you guys are doing great as well. Thank you for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces as usual. So thanks again for joining me on another episode. We are sponsored today by 2 brands. One, build12.com. Check out Build12. It's the revenue generating system, CRM, advertising, all the things rolled into one. I've been using it for a couple of years now. Give Les a call over there at build12.com and he'll give you a free demo. Also sponsored by one of my companies, Builder Pay Pro. We get into the payments platform in construction. If you're sick of paying the credit card fees, your clients want to get their airline miles and you're paying all the fees, it's time to switch that to Builder Pay Pro, where the homeowner pays the fees instead of you. So check out builderpaypro.com. I can give you a free demo on that. It's really helped us. We invoice. It directly connects to QuickBooks. It's saving me a lot of time chasing checks down, checking the mail, all that crap. So check out builderpaypro.com. Today's show I'm really excited about. I know I say that every month, but this one I'm really excited about. We are getting into the personal growth and mindset category, which I am currently on that journey. And to be fully transparent, I am drinking all the Kool-Aid that Shawn has. And I'm a full-fledged member of the Inner Blueprint Mastermind group. And I have enjoyed the last few months of getting to know a lot of great guys and gals across the nation, but also just digging into my own personal journey of growth, finding out what my past paradigms are, trying to fix them and turn them into opportunities. I'm really excited to be here. Our show is called Rewire Your Mind for Success with Shawn Feurer. And we are joined by Shawn, the universal mindset disruptor and creator of the Inner Blueprint Mindset program for the home improvement industry. He's going to share 20 years of insights on transforming mindsets to scale businesses, sharpen leadership, and embrace joy. His focus is helping others improve in 3 main areas: better finances, better health and wellness, and better relationships. Discover how his program empowers entrepreneurs to break limitations and achieve better results than they ever thought possible. Guided by his mantra, enjoy the ride, Shawn offers practical strategies for success that you can implement in your life starting today. Shawn Feurer is the creator of the Inner Blueprint and owner of Shawn Feurer Consulting, known as the Universal Mindset Disruptor. That's true for me as well. Brings over 20 years of experience helping business owners and entrepreneurs rewire the way they think so they can scale faster, lead stronger, and enjoy the process along the way. A former business and sales coach turned transformative mindset mentor, his mission is to revolutionize how leaders approach growth, fostering freedom, abundance, joy, and success, both in business and in life. Please help me welcome Shawn Feurer. Shawn, thanks for being here, man.
Jeremy, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually so excited to be here and talk all things mindset.
Great.
This is my jam. And anytime I get a chance to be on a platform and just try and share some information to help people disrupt their thoughts a little bit, because that's what it's all about, right? You know this. That's how we were brought together, is you're already a student of personal development.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you kind of started where we are and you got to this. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah. So I literally grew up in the home improvement business. I met my stepdad who raised me when I was 6 years old. He was actually a siding installer here in Utah that had just started his home improvement business and journey, and literally grew up in it. I was going to high school, even as I went to college, working part-time in the business. So I've just been around this industry for a very, very long time. After graduating college with a business degree, thinking I was going to go find some corporate job, I had fallen in love with the business. So I went to work with my dad full-time, spent about 20 years in the business, eventually bought out his partner, ran the company with him. We had a very successful business for a very long time. I was part of a couple of great organizations that I got a lot of training. And for me, my journey to mindset started with my own challenges, man. I mean, after 20 years in the business, 20 years in a personal relationship, I found myself at about 42 years old, just about 10 years ago, after having lots of success, lots of good results, things just weren't working for me, man. And, at the time, I questioned a lot. I questioned why it was happening, why I was struggling, but hindsight is 2020, and it's what took me on the journey that got me here on this episode with you today. So, a long story short, I ended up leaving the family business. I ended up leaving a 20-year relationship, and I ended up starting completely over. And during this time, I went to work for a national training organization and became a business coach. And again, I do have a lot of success, even though I found myself feeling very unsuccessful for a moment. Worked for about 5 years as a lead sales trainer and business coach. And after 5 years of coaching contractors, after my own personal struggles in the industry and in life, that's when my aha moment came. I was coaching almost 70 companies, best practices, best process for, planning a business and budgeting, for running a production department, for running the administrative, for teaching salespeople sales process. And what I saw in a lot of the companies and owners I was working with was the same things I saw in me. We have the information, we have the knowing. Sometimes there's a gap in the doing based on what's in between the ears. Our brain, which at a greater level I call the mind, which is a little bit separate. But that's what took me on my journey to start my own consulting business, to find my mentor, Bob Proctor, to really take a deep dive on understanding the mind, how it works, how it's programmed. And that's what I've spent the last 6 years doing. And I've stayed in the home improvement space because it's all I know. And
right.
You mentioned paradigms. All contractors, most of us didn't come from silver spoons. We didn't, a lot of us go to Harvard or an Ivy League school. We came from the school of hard knocks. And
totally.
In that comes a lot of paradigms, a lot of scarcity, a lot of challenge. And so the work that I do today is, and you're diving right in with us now in our Inner Blueprint Mastermind group, by helping individuals, both owners, high-level leaders, sales professionals in the industry, figure out what's going on in their mind that's limiting their results on the outside.
Yeah, I know. I love it. You talked a little bit about Bob Proctor, and you talk a lot about your mentors and how they kind of shaped you. How did you get involved with Bob Proctor? That's not an easy thing to do. It's not like you just give someone like that a call. Like how did that come up?
No, and it's interesting because, my struggles started in 2014-ish. I mean, they started in about 2008 with the recession, but I'd been a student of personal development since 2003. I'm Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, listened to all their videos. I've got it right here, the book Think and Grow Rich, which is the basis of the Inner Blueprint. But for me in 2018-ish, I was searching for tools to help with mindset. I'm like, I need a program. I've identified this need in the home improvement industry. How do I close that gap? And I didn't even know to call it the knowing doing gap until I met Bob. But honestly, it was, I'd attended an industry event, the Top 500 in Vegas. I was living in Southern Utah. I drove home, and I'm just sharing this part of the story because I was asking my mind, I was asking my subconscious, help me. I need to find some answers to this. I need a program or a system that I can teach that'll help not only my clients, but myself get better. And it was a couple nights after that event, Jeremy, I woke up at 3 a.m. Studied Wayne Dyer a lot too. He calls that the angel hour, right? You're asking for help and you wake up in the middle of the night. And so I literally woke up with my hands out like, okay, is this the message? Is this the message? And long story short, I ended up on a webinar. And to this day, I have screenshots of the webinar on my phone still. I normally don't get on the computer in the middle of the night. I can't even remember what drew me. But because Bob Proctor is worldwide and global, they were running this webinar, I think for people in Australia. And I registered, and it started at like 3:30 a.m. And I was already up. So I made a cup of coffee, sat down in my skivvies and was like, I'm going to watch this webinar and see what Bob Proctor has to say. And that's what I found the information I now teach today. Bob talked about the knowing doing gap. He talked about this idea of thought creates feeling creates action and controls results. And so many of us in life, and especially the home improvement industry, we're action takers. We spend all day reacting to results we don't like, taking more action to try to get better. And so Bob talked about a program he had. Took me about 6 months to get fully vested, to figure it out. I was still in scarcity. It was an expensive program. I think it was initially 35 grand to sign up and get certified. I didn't have it at the time. I was literally coming off a challenging exit of my family business, a challenging divorce. And I really liked what I heard, Jeremy. Like light bulbs for me went off. Like this is information that can only help me, but help the clients that I'm already working with on consulting. So I signed up. He had a program called Thinking into Results. It was 12 lessons. I became a student of that and a consultant. In the first 6 months, I made his inner circle. Long story short, unfortunately, COVID hit. I had only attended one live event where I was celebrated with Bob. And after that, it was about a year or two later that Bob passed away. And so we lost Bob. I taught his program for several years, became a really good teacher and student of it. And then after his passing, things had changed in the organization, and I figured it was time to develop my own. So that's when I came up with Inner Blueprint. I did model a lot of it off of everything I learned from Bob, but I also added in everything I learned from Jack Canfield, Wayne Dyer in our industry. Charlie Gandell is one of my original mentors. It's a legend in the home improvement industry, and then my own personal experience. So it was really cool to literally spend time in a small room with Bob Proctor, who I watched my Secret movie back in 2006, listened to so many of his videos, had read a bunch of his books. So that's how I got to meet Bob.
That's a cool story. I mean, you also do your own podcast with your new wife, Caitlin, and you get to interview crazy people like me and other people in the industry. You also get to, interview ex-baseball player. I mean, you're kind of all over the place, but tell us a little bit about that podcast and kind of how it's kind of reshaped the way you're teaching and coaching these days too. Yeah.
So with our program, Inner Blueprint, we have a lot of success with people, and I wanted a platform to share free information and to share wins. As you know, and anybody listening to this knows, the home improvement industry is challenging, right? I mean, to me, the risk and the challenge is where the opportunity is, but we deal with a lot of challenges trying to keep things going. So Inner Blueprint, the podcast, is designed specifically for the home improvement industry. We talk about with its ripple effect, though, anybody who listens to that is going to get tips and tricks to help think better thoughts to get better results.
Right.
But we mostly have brought on a lot of clients that were successful when I started working with them, but have used the power of their mind and Inner Blueprint and our mastermind group to launch. And we've got a couple in the group that were former professional athletes or almost professional athletes that had injuries. You have a crazy story. How do you end up in home improvements? But that's where they ended up. And so it is. If you guys want to check it out, it's on all the platforms. But every episode is either a guest talking about mindset and how it's improved their life, or me and Caitlin do some episodes, the two of us, just sharing our tools. I mean, that's the craziest thing about this, Jeremy, is I give a lot of my information away for free, but it's up to the listener to grab it. And we can talk more later about like how you actually implement it, but implementation is key.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get into a little bit about the Inner Blueprint system. Let's break it down. What is it? How did you come up with it? And like you said, we'll get into implementation, which is the hardest part. We all like to learn, but it's that second step is so critical. So let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So Inner Blueprint, I mean, the basis of a lot of the things in Inner Blueprint coming from Think and Grow Rich. And, the book was written in 1938. I read it for the first time in 2003, and I just read it. I didn't study it. And it's really hard to implement this book into your life. As you know, right, there's so much information. When I started my journey, I had notes in my phone of every step in Think and Grow Rich and I really had trouble implementing this. So after working with Bob for a few years, he'd studied the book for 50 years. When I developed Inner Blueprint, the idea was to create a step-by-step mindset program that with repetition, with study, would help individuals take a big idea. One of the areas that you talked about, the trifecta, either in finances, health and wellness, relationship, but a big goal. They had no idea how they could accomplish it, and then create a system that helps them take it from an idea to a belief. And as you know from going through it now, module 1 is what do you want? And the idea in what do you want is forget about the how. Time and money don't exist. Let's get you dreaming again. Let's get you back to maybe a younger version and really thinking what's possible. And that is the first step for most people, finding out what's holding them back and what's limiting them.
Right.
And then each module, we won't go through them all now, but each module 2 is what holds you back, right? And as you're thinking about what you want, naturally things come up and we go through all the modules. Module 8 is what do you believe? And it's 1 to 8 is idea to belief.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. We kind of talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but one that I'm just kind of stuck on, and I think a lot of us are in this category. I'm good. I've been good for a really long time, but you kind of talk about it's the evil to great, and you're also that much closer to that. So like I think there's a lot of people who can relate to that. Like, hey, my finances are good, my relationships are good. Sure, I could use X, Y, or Z a little bit better, but like but that just really struck me because I know great's there and I want great, but you're stuck in good, and America does that to you too.
Yes.
You're just kind of stuck in this, like, I'm good. Why should I really ask for that?
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, this is where I give thanks for all my challenges because I was really good for a long time. Before I had my downfall and things kind of fell apart, I was stuck in really good. I mean, beautiful home, beautiful life, traveling, successful business. And for me, I got pulled into challenge, which made me change. So as I'm working with individuals like you, I remind you, hey, you're either growing or you're dying. You're not staying the same. So when we're stuck in really good, before we know it, we've actually slipped backwards. So that's kind of the motivation. And it is challenging because I work with lots of successful people that are in really good. And I want to get you to great before you ever have to experience anything. And that's one of my missions is to not, what I went through was horrible, man. Like we won't bring it up, the negativity of it now, but I wouldn't wish, like financial challenges, physical health challenges, the death of a couple of my very close love. I mean, a lot of stuff piled on all at once. And so, the challenge is good and really good is the enemy of greatness. And you're either doing something every day to get better or you're taking a few steps. I mean, Bob Proctor used to talk about even after you die, when they put you in a box in the ground, you continue to disintegrate. So literally we're physical energy that's either getting better or it's getting worse. And so that's kind of the mindset I put behind it is, I'm love, Jeremy, that you're doing good, but what does great look like? And what's holding you back from that right now? And it might be the comfort zone of really good. And that's a paradigm.
Yeah, no, it's all those things. It's all those things. So, I mean, the word mindset too. I don't know if it's just. I'm sure you know that it's just like one of those words that's used a lot now, and there's a lot of misnomers. There's a lot of things that you hear out there. Is there something that like comes up that you constantly need to debunk or you don't really agree with? I know just think positive is one that I've heard in my life. I don't know what you feel about some of those that are just out there right now.
What I don't love, and it's interesting because when I first started this journey about 6 years ago, especially in home improvement, a lot of people, I mean, I talked to owners of big training organizations or events. They thought I was crazy. They thought I'd lost it, especially if I ever talked about the law of attraction or vibration or anything. But I've done a lot of work to really establish that mindset is an important thing. And my biggest pet peeve is how many people just throw it around loosely. People that aren't educated, that don't know. I mean, I know a lot of sales trainers that talk about mindset, a lot of business coaches, a lot of people throw it out there, but they use it wrong. Like, Jeremy, you need to improve your mindset. What the hell does that mean?
Right.
Where? And so for me, and you know this, I correct that by saying mindset is 2 words, mind and set.
Right.
And for individuals, your journey is figuring out what are your set points, because our set points are like thermostats, what we think about time, money, relationship, our business, employees, leads, cash flow. Those are all set points. And so really, to me, just breaking down and giving awareness and understanding, the mindset is 2 words. And depending on what you're challenged with, you might need to work on your mind set points in a certain area. And I've gotten really good at helping people identify those and work on those. So
yeah, it's crazy. Just that one alone is such a shocking thing that you don't even know you have them. Again, back to that, you gotta learn it first. You don't even know you had them, and then you got to weed it out. But it's so interesting that we all just walk around living basically in our subconscious, and no one knows about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think you said it in one of your modules. Like, you were just shocked that this is not taught, and I that hit me too.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when I first found Bob and his material, I actually went through a week or two. I was pissed. I'm like, I spent all this money on a college degree. I was always a good student, and nobody ever taught me, like, Shawn, this is how your mind works. This is how you're programmed. This is where your set points came from. This is how you can change them.
Right.
And that is the work. I guess the other pet peeve I have is when people talk about mindset and act like you can just wake up one morning and change it. Like conscious awareness. Oh, you know what? I've got some scarcity. I'm going to change it. That's a lack of understanding that 95% of your mind is subconscious, pre-programmed, patterned, and just thinking about something for 1 minute or one time won't change anything. It really won't. You have to do some daily work to reinforce and create the change you want inside before you're going to see anything different on the outside.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about that daily work. What does that look like? Like you said, you can't just talk about it. You actually have to create some habits to get there. So let's talk about the daily habits.
Yeah. And you know this. I mean, my recommendation for anybody listening, and you don't even have to be one of the students of Inner Blueprint to take this challenge on, but it's to create 30 minutes a day for yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how many people aren't even interested in doing that. They're so comfortable, they're so busy, they're so whatever they are that they won't even take 30 minutes a day for themselves. And I always break it down. Let's see, 30 minutes out of the 1,440 minutes we get, it's 2% of your day. And if you will create 30 minutes, and you can stack it, as we break this down, of the 30 minutes, 15 minutes is listening to good material about the mind. In Inner Blueprint, we have 15-minute modules we listen to on the daily, but you can get on YouTube and find some Joe Dispenza, some Bob Proctor, something. Just go into YouTube and type in, how does the mind work, and find a good video and listen to it. 15 minutes a day while you drive, while you shower. So that's the first daily ritual. It's 15 minutes a day, just getting better awareness and understanding of how your mind works.
Right.
And then the second half of the 30 minutes is 15 minutes of intentional work on yourself. It's 5 minutes of a goal statement. It's 5 minutes of I am statements, and it's 5 minutes of gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I met you years ago at a James Hardy conference down in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we connected. And that was the one thing I was kind of already in this space, going through a divorce. Like you were kind of talking to a little bit about me, but also you said, if you start with one thing, start with gratitude. That day I started it. And I have this whole journal of gratitude. So like I did start with that one. So that one became a habit for me. And that alone, like you said, if you don't do anything, start with that. And like, I can't tell you, it really did help, because it just brings your perspective back, to be grateful for all the little things around you. And there's so many of them that you just pass by and don't think of them as something that you should be grateful for. But and that was the first time I met you.
Oh, I love that. And again, I share, like I just gave, those are the keys to the kingdom of Inner Blueprint. If you adopt that 30 minutes and the 5 minutes of gratitude, and a free tool for that, listeners, go to YouTube, type in Brother David, A Grateful Day. It's a 5-minute meditation that literally brings gratitude to the simplest point of, we're lucky we have drinkable water. We're lucky we have a roof over our head. And even if it's not your dream roof, right? And I started listening to that when I was going through struggle. And my roof was my sister's, because I was living in her basement for a little while. I mean, I literally didn't feel like I had a lot to be grateful for, but listening to Brother David made me realize, oh my gosh, I am blessed. And it kind of changes. We say everything we have to do in a day. When I listen to Brother David, I change that to I get to. Even if it's a challenging thing, I am blessed to get to do this today, because I woke up happy and healthy. I woke up with drinkable water, with the sun coming up.
Yeah.
You're in a sunnier place than me usually in California, but here in Utah, if it's a summer day and the sun's up, it's a good day.
Right. I mean, and just think about that in your own experience, like stuff, the material things, the things that a lot of us do have in our goal statements and what we do actually desire. But if you're not wired right, how does that affect you? We all have heard the thing that money doesn't buy you happiness, or all those types of things, but talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a really important point in this.
Yeah, I think from a very young age, a lot of us, especially if you're a business owner listening to this, we get this paradigm of hustle culture and working for success. And we spend a lot of time on that trifecta, working on the finances. And I know for me, that was the case. And if we go back, right before my crash, I had everything I'd ever wanted. as far as things. I had a big house. I had a boat. I had a extra sports car. I had this business. I had all these physical things. But what I didn't have was peace and presence and happiness, real, true happiness that comes from the inside. And I know, to this day, I've worked with so many successful people that have the things on the outside that we all work for. But this is where it goes to, if you don't do the inside work of self-love, of working on gratitude, there's not enough stuff you can accomplish or accumulate on the outside.
Right.
You'll fill a black hole if there's a black hole on the inside. And I didn't even know, again, we're unaware. Right. I had some holes in me from, childhood. My real dad left for quite a while, a good 20 years of my life, right? Went through some scarcity with a single mom for a little while. These things that happened that I'd worked so hard on the outside to ignore, to overcome, to prove to the world that I was valuable, that I was successful, that when I finally got there, I'd been chasing something on the outside that couldn't come from the outside. It had to come from me.
Right. Such an important piece. We talk, our industry is kind of full of man's man, tough for us to tap into that side of us. Vulnerability is a huge one that a lot of us struggle with. We're in module 5 now. That's actually one of my superpowers. I'm able to become and get vulnerable with people, which really does help me with my relationships. But let's talk a little bit about that, especially in terms of the industry we're in and how, we're fed so many things. I still was fed all the rub dirt on it and don't cry. All of those things were 100% there and still there. But let's talk a little bit about that, especially with our industry and how it's difficult for us to get there.
Well, one of the challenges for me, and if you think about it, I used to attend a lot of industry events, and then I worked for an organization that did a lot of industry events. And I call those a lot of times the Masters of the Universe conferences, right? Where everybody shows up there and you got the biggest companies on stage beating their chest and all the successful people beating their chest. And then you've got like an individual. And at a time when I was struggling, I'd go to these events and it didn't feel like a safe space to raise your hand and say, you know what? I suck right now. Could I get some help? And that's where I think vulnerability comes in. And when I was a business coach, I was working with over 70 companies and I'd see some of the gentlemen that were under my advisement and I'd looked at their financials and I was working with them and we'd go to an event and I wouldn't see that. Right. I'd see them talking about how good sales are and how good. And so that's one thing I've worked on in a blueprint is getting a group of guys that are willing. If you need help, it's okay to ask for it. Right.
Yes.
And these industry events, a lot of them are put on with the intent to help you. But in order to get help, you have to be vulnerable and be willing to admit, hey, I don't have it all. And I can tell you, I've worked with almost every level contractor from startup to 3 to 5 million to 10 to 20 to 30 to 80, to approaching 100 and beyond. And I've actually been mentored by some of the big names that have sold businesses. And I see this all along is we're programmed, and especially as men, it happens to men and women, but especially as men, to not be vulnerable. If I get hurt, I can't show a sign of weakness. I got to put some dirt on it. And the problem challenge in his business, if you're bleeding and your net profit is a negative and you need some help, find a space you could ask for it. And we do create, besides the mindset work we do in Inner Blueprint with our mastermind groups, we provide a lot of support and what I call a safe space. If you need help, raise your hand. And sometimes it's not in the business. A lot of us struggle in personal relationships and health and wellness, and to find a place where you can speak. And again, vulnerability is just truth, right? It's being brave enough to say the truth that I could use some help right now, and then learning how to receive the help.
Right. That's been my struggle with going to conferences, is that imagery of revenue, and just when people talk about themselves, it's hard for me to watch, because maybe I know it's fluff and maybe I know it's not really them, but I don't know what it is. It turns me off. And I think that a lot of people are in that same boat. Maybe it's a little jealousy in that, I'm not making 100 million or anything like that. But there's also that element of like, who are you really that I'm missing sometimes at those,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, Charlie Gandell is one of my long-term mentors. He's from the Southern California area. He ran Renewable Anderson of Orange County. Mm-hmm. His journey was 40 years from like 600,000 to 40 million. And one of my favorite things is he is one of the most vulnerable, authentic mentors you could every time I hear him speak, he shares the challenges he had. He talks about, moments in his career when he thought he was going to lose everything and the struggles. And to me, when somebody speaks that vulnerability, it gives people, I know he gets more people than anybody I know asking him for help because he gives permission by his energy. And so that's the other thing in mindset. We literally don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. And so for me, the more vulnerable I've become, more powerful, vulnerable people I attract to work with me and to help me. And that's been a cool process.
Yeah, no, I totally love that. And I also really have enjoyed the really focus on connection, especially, we have a family life, we have things going on behind our business owners where we tend to be hard workers and maybe workaholics at times and, grinders, all those things definitely typically represent the business owner in construction and remodeling. But we have this other side of us that we go home to, and a lot of us have not taken good care of it, or we're struggling there. So a lot of times we just go back to work to where we're feeling better. Talk about that. How do we juggle that? How do we make sure that we, you can't just do one without thinking about the other? How do we connect all those together?
Yeah. And I came up with, and I call it the power trifecta. And that's really the basis of it. And the power trifecta is a triangle. And at the top of it is finances, having enough money, having more. And most people, business owners, sales professionals, most of our focus is on our money. How many hours a day you spend on it. And so if you think about it, the top of the triangle is money. The bottom left leg is health and wellness, both mental and physical. And the right is relationship with self that creates every relationship you have. And most people, when I start working with them, they got a tall, skinny triangle. There's been too much emphasis on the business aspect and not enough emphasis on self-love and taking care of both mind and body. And so one thing I do with Inner Blueprint is help. Our whole group is committed to better in all three areas. And I usually ask most people to focus on the bottom of the triangle, because if you get in better physical and mental shape, you're going to love yourself more, and you're actually going to make more money. And this is counterintuitive for most people. So we do, and in the group, I talk about this a lot, is, rate yourself on all three areas. And listeners, right now, rate yourself on your finances, scale of 1 to 10, on your health and wellness, maybe a blend of mental and physical. Do you wake up anxious, frustrated, or do you wake up in peace or presence? I prefer the latter. Health, do you have enough energy? Are you happy with your body? And if we start rating ourselves, you usually find there's a deficit in either health and wellness or in self-love and confidence. And for a lot of guys, they say they're good, but they don't have great relationships. Well, if you don't have great relationships, that means you're not good. I mean, the mirror of my self-love is my beautiful wife, is my relationship with my kids, is my relationship with my clients and friends, right?
Right.
And for me, the more I've worked on me, the better relationship I have in every area. So, balance is hard. It's hard to balance everything. I try and create some harmony between the three.
Yeah, definitely. The second time I met you was at the Pinnacle Experience, and I wanted to talk about this because I was with my son that day.
Which is one of my favorite things. Tell the listeners, if they don't know, how old is your son? Is he?
Yeah, he's 14, and this is his second year going with me to a remodeling conference, and we've been doing the baseball stadium touring when we go, so we've been making fun with it. But he's also sitting in and he's learning. And when we sat in on your kind of demonstration, we had the book out. We were doing all the ratings. We were talking about all the things. We saw you and your wife at the gym that day. All these things were coming together for him. And I told him that, I was part of your system. He's like, oh, that's great. I still remember what he talked about, working out and how important that is. Him and I are getting after it. So it's cool to see that work in your kid. Because that's honestly, that's why I do pretty much everything I do.
Yes,
I just wanted you to know that, and the listeners to know that was like the second time I met you. I'm like, dude, I'm supposed to be hanging with this guy. And like kind of we talked about it earlier. Like you have to listen to those things. You got that nudging in the middle of the night. I had the nudging, and it was like, hey, I'm good. No. But I'm destined for greatness. And it was a really powerful thing, and it's cool to hear my son kind of validate that too. It was cool.
Well, it's funny too, because we do talk about like synchronicities and coincidence, and to me, there's no such thing as coincidence. The word coincidence comes from mathematics and coinciding lines, and when two lines coincide, that's an exact mathematical equation. Mm-hmm. Again, some people call this new age or woo-woo. I will just state that if you're thinking what we're talking about is new age or woo-woo, Those are just terms people use for things they don't understand. But once you understand them, and I have synchronicities and coincidence happen on the daily because I'm aware. I noticed you and your son right off. From the very moment I walked in, I'm like, that is cool. That is a dude that's not only dedicated to himself, but he's also wanting to teach his son about business, about mindset, about life. And so it is crazy that we ended up, because I saw you at the table the first day and then we saw each other in the gym.
Right.
We ended up, and I can't tell you how many of my clients that I've come to work with, it's been through synchronicities. It's been through, gosh, I guess we're supposed to be meant to work together because we keep running into each other.
Exactly. And I also wanted to touch on that health component too, because I have noticed this in my own life when I made that a habit, how much that does change you. And we all have heard it. It's all related. You know, you can't be sedentary and feel good about yourself and all those other things. So talk a little bit about the health component. We live in America. This is a struggle.
It's the biggest struggle we have right now. And, I personally believe we have a health and wellness pandemic in America that has to be addressed. I mean, and I don't want to rabble here, but the foods we eat. I mean, most of the food, I've been to Europe a couple of times and I can eat food there and not get bloated, not feel sick. So we are challenged just with the food available. But, I mentioned earlier the knowing doing gap. Every single American, every single person that's listening to this, we know what we need to do to get in better shape. We know eat more fresh foods. We know drink more water, get enough sleep, work out, move, exercise.
Mm-hmm.
You have to ask yourself, what's the gap between what I know and what I do?
Right.
And it's your paradigms. It's how you're programmed. You hate exercise. You like sleeping in. You're addicted to junk food. There's so many things to dive into there. But for me, it's literally just making a decision and starting to change it. And one step that I always recommend anybody who wants better health and wellness, that's struggling with it, start on the mind first. Start doing affirmations about, even if you're not ready to go to the gym or ready to start running, start telling yourself you already do. I'm so happy and grateful I spend 15 minutes every day being active. I've had people start with that affirmation for 30 days, and then they start walking for 15 minutes a day. And then a month later, they're jogging for 20 minutes. And then a month later, they're starting to talk about health. It literally takes one keystone habit that you change and close a gap. I know I want to start doing this. And then you just start doing it first in your mind and then a physical habit. And it's crazy. It's literally, a proven process to start with your mindset and then add the physical activity and then stack it.
It's basically the exact opposite of a New Year's resolution.
Yes. I hate and the problem is, let's rabbit hole for a second, Jeremy, because the problem with New Year's resolutions is people try to do too many things.
Right.
Pick one. As humans, we are programmed. You and I have talked about the hand exercise. You see me do it live in person. But listeners, if you're not driving and you can safely do this, take your hands and without thinking about it, just clasp them together. And then notice which thumb is on top. For me, it's always my right. And then I ask you to move your fingers so the opposite thumb is on top. And if you do this, your initial thought is it's uncomfortable and you want to go back. And so I always use this as a reference point. Okay, you don't even like to move your fingers one, and you're telling me in January, you're going to go to the gym every day, you're going to eat better, you're going to do this. You can't physically make that many changes without changing the thought process. So as you know, in Inner Blueprint, we pick one or two things a week to add, to change. And that's how you create real change in your life, whether it's in health and wellness, relationships, or your finances. It's really micromanaging one activity at a time.
Yeah, and it's really not what we're taught about goals. It's not what we're taught about. It has bugged me too, because I definitely live that life of like, hey, I got 10 goals. And a lot of times it would be way too many goals. And like you look at it for a little while, and then before you know it, you're just on with your regular life because it just is overwhelming. It just doesn't feel possible.
Yes.
So like no one ever says start with the mind or take one thing, or it's never that.
No. Well, it's funny too, because in goal setting, we talk about in their blueprint, there are a couple different kinds of goals. An A goal is something you already know how to do. A B goal is something you already know how to do that you've never done. And a C goal is something you have no idea. And so we spend a lot of time getting people to think about, but like you just talked about, you can have 10 A goals, because 10 A goals are just things you've already done that you need to do again. And there's no growth. There's no change in the mindset. And I'm the king of lists. I have an index card with at least 6 things that I need to do every single day. And those are A goals. I already know how to do them. I've already done them before. I just want to be intentional. And that to me is the physical activity part.
Mm-hmm.
But the thinking and growth is on what is a big seagull that I have no idea how, but when I think about it, it both excites me and scares me a little bit.
Yeah, and that was tough for me, honestly. It still is, because you're just not used to working that muscle, right? It's just you're kind of used to just being, business goals. Let's do this X%, but you're not really thinking about like what's way out there, or what's something I've always wanted that I just kind of stuffed down. Maybe I loved it when I was a kid, or I just thought it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Again, it's anybody and everybody I've ever worked with, including myself. Our first module, what do you want, and figuring out what you really want, is the most challenging thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
Because you go to what you think you can do or what you've been told is possible, and you forget how to dream. I mean, I literally, when I started this, I had forgotten. I mean, when I first started my consulting agency, my bar was set. I mean, I was single. I was debt free. I didn't even want to make that much money. I was literally, if I can get to this amount and I'm good. Again, I was going back for good, Jeremy, because that was like a set point for me. And it was figuring out, how do I dream? How do I think bigger than I've ever thought, forgetting about the how. And then once I'm able to get there, you got to do it every day. That's where the consistency is key, as you know.
Yes.
If I think about this big goal in January and don't think about it again until next January, it's going to change. Nothing that you're going to stay about the same in every area.
Right. No doubt. I mean, so obviously just thinking about the group that we're in and thinking about all these successful entrepreneurs, some of them have scaled to multi-million dollars. Some of them have exited. All of these things you've seen over the years. Is there a common block that you've had to, that you see in a lot of us entrepreneurs?
Honestly, the most common block, and it's a blind spot, and I still, as I say this, people listening are going to have resistance to it. But I did a lot of work, and there's a book called The Moses Code by James Twyman that explains the I am statement, the power of affirmation. But at the end of the book, and Jeremy, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's bonus modules, the 10 keys to manifesting and the 10 blocks.
Yeah.
I got that from this book.
Oh, okay.
And block number 1 is worthiness.
Mm.
And I will say, for almost anybody and everybody I've ever worked with, and when you talk about what does worthiness mean, it's like, do I deserve this success? And again, even individuals I worked with that have had the successful exit that we all dream about, they're still questioning. And it behind it all is that sense of purpose and that sense of, do I really deserve all this? And so that, I think, would be the number one. And again, it's key block number 1 is just worthiness. I want this big thing. Do I deserve it? And then when I get this big thing, most people, when they get the big thing, they're looking for the next big thing. And if you think about it, it has to do with like self-love and happiness at some level. And again, I know this is not a comfortable topic for individuals to think about, but working on your own self-love and confidence and your own peace and presence and happiness, that's key, man. That is key.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's just, I think the blueprint is a perfect word for it, because I've always wanted it, but I never had the guidance on here's step-by-step, here's what you need to do. And instead of it being, like I said, goals, all just the general stuff that we're fed all the time, but to have an actual step-by-step guide, it's right there.
I mean, it is the blueprint. One reason I spent so much time and energy, and we've even trademarked the blueprint, because I want to protect it, because I know we've got something valuable here. I mean, me personally, I had this book for, 20 years and didn't know what to do with it. And I've worked with, he's a success coach for the University of Texas. He does mindset work with all 18 head coaches. He's got a program that's taught at the University of Texas called The Science of Success. His name's John Mitchell, if anybody wants to look him up. He researched, he's a professor type. He researched when he was 50 years old, 20 years ago, what's the number 1 book on success? And the answer came back, this book is the number 1 book on success. And he struggled with it. He's like, Napoleon keeps talking about the secret. What's the secret? And he decided the secret was creating a visual map that you hold in your mind every day.
Right.
And saying it. And that's what we do at Inner Blueprint. Like, we have the same process that John uses, and his is very similar. I've worked with John quite a bit, and I've compared notes, and we've talked about this. Listeners, You have to decide what you want. Napoleon Hill calls it definite of purpose. I call it your big worthy goal from Earl Nightingale. But once you have that and you make that your blueprint and you think about it for a minimum of 5 minutes every day.
Yeah.
Once you do that long enough, your mind grabs it. The cybernetic mechanism that's inside all of us that makes us goal-seeking, living human beings is going to go to work, and it's going to help you. I mean, that's the best part about this, Jeremy, is when you set the goal and you get in your mind. You know, for me, we both like to go to the gym. We like to work out. I don't even have to think about it. Like my mind is so driven to, I'm going to be a happy, healthy 100 years old. Right. It pushes me out of bed sometimes. I'll be laying there thinking, I don't want to do it today. This morning I was feeling that way a little bit. And Caitlin teases me because I jump out of bed. It's not me. My mind makes me. I don't have a choice. It is so programmed now.
No, I feel the same way. I love it. It's funny. When I'm driving on the road, I've been listening to Think and Grow Rich again, because you talk about it. I was like, I need to review this because it's been a long time. And how many times in that book he says, come back and redo this, read this 3 times. And then like how much, there's just so much to think about in it. But he also says like, you have to do this for a minimum of 30 days. And then you have to come back and read it again and study it again. And you're like, oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
And that's why in our blueprint, we've created, it's the 30 minutes a day, right? And we do every module. We spend 2 weeks on module 1 week on every module, and then we repeat it, and we do it 3 times a year. Yeah. And I've had gentlemen in the group that you're in for 5 years, every day doing this. And the beautiful thing is, guess what happens? As they get better, so do their results.
Yeah. It's like clockwork, right?
Tell us
a little bit about that. Like, do you have like a top story that you think about, that you go to? Like, obviously you've had a lot of successes through the years, but what is one that you just go like, damn, I'm proud of that?
Oh my gosh. Many, huh? And again, I jokingly say, if I talked about all my wins, I'd probably scare people away because they think I was full of crap. Because it's been, I basically went from rock bottom less than a decade ago to in the last 5 years rebuilding my best life. But obviously my beautiful wife, Caitlin, like the synchronicities have brought us together. We got married actually in San Clemente, California at Charlie Gendell's house, and Charlie married us. So when I say forget about the how, literally Charlie's been a mentor of mine since 2003. My stepdad who raised me passed away. Caitlin's dad passed away. We don't have family. And my University of Utah football team made the Rose Bowl a few years ago. And so we went, and while we were there, I called Charlie, and he invited us to his house. And I went down. It was his last day of work. He retired. I helped him carry his boxes to his car. We drove to his house. Caitlin and I met his wife for the first time. We ended up staying at their house. And the next morning, his wife, Connie, said, when you 2 cuties get married, you're getting married at our house. And it was a couple years later, we got married at their house. So I guess I'm just sharing this because that night we had 95 of our closest favorite people, a lot of them clients. And people say, Shawn, how did you do that? I have no idea. How did I end up in Southern Cal? How did my youth make the Rose Bowl and then get their asses kicked? How did this happen? It just all unfolded because I do my 30 minutes a day. And, my meeting of Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul, right after Bob passed away, the next weekend I got online. I'm like, okay, my mentors are getting old. Who's getting up there that I want to spend time with? And Jack Canfield came into my mind. I looked up. He had a luxury retreat that fall. It was $15,000 a ticket. I was doing better, but I'm like, geez, Jack really is proud of 4 days with him, right? And I wanted to bring Caitlin. So I ended up pulling the trigger. I spent $30,000. Interestingly, the weekend that I proposed to Caitlin, unplanned, it was a synchronicity at a concert we were at. We flew to Jack's event the Monday morning after. At 3 a.m., we had to get up. We get to Jack's event. Me and Caitlin walk in, freshly engaged. Our energy we literally energetically took over the event. I get in a room with Jack. He asked me what I want to do. I say, I want to be you. I want to teach like you. I want to mentor like you. Long story short, he invites me back the next year as a facilitator. And I moved from the back of the room to the front of the room. And I did that 2 years in a row. And people that have been students of his for 20 years are going, Shawn, how'd you get to the front of the room? I don't know how. I don't know. I showed up in this good energy. I had confidence. It all comes back to what do I do on the daily? And as I do it on the daily, I keep having these really cool opportunities show up.
Yeah, no doubt. So what's the evolution of what you're doing? You talked a little bit about you've changed your goals. Obviously, you got to over the years, but you've changed it a little bit with yours as well. So what are you working on now? What is your big goal for your business?
I mean, my big goal for my business is, and with the group that you're in right now, we've got about 50 business owners, and roughly figuring we do about 500 million in revenue. So my goal is to get my current group to $1 billion in revenue. So all my effort with my mindset program, we are still looking at taking a few more people. So if you're listening and this calls to you, reach out to me. We kick off our next round in January, and we should have a couple spots. But for me right now, Jeremy, the most exciting thing is that I've now got Inner Blueprint, a proven process. We've got it trademarked and protected. I'm actually looking to license other coaches to take Inner Blueprint into other fields right now. So I've got a motivational speaker friend of mine, Matt Blanchard. I mean, great story, challenging story. This guy's been paralyzed 2 different times, 15 years apart. And he is the happiest, most positive person. And he's going to be starting teaching Inner Blueprint in January. And I've got a good friend of mine. His wife was an original student of Inner Blueprint. He's a 30-year therapist that he's launching his own mindset, Mike Hartley. And so I've got 2 people in January kicking off. So if you're listening to this and you know anybody outside of the industry, I've got my first 2 coaches being trained right now and ready to start. So that's the next level of Inner Blueprint, is taking it to other areas, whether it be real estate, health and wellness, life coaching. It's endless possibilities. And again, the only how I know is I'm going to keep these 2 guys going, and we'll keep going from there.
Yeah. Tell everybody a little bit of what it looks like to be a part of the group and kind of the commitment, just so they kind of get an idea of that, so that they can start with their excuses.
Well, and before we do that, let's just talk about the obstacles, because the biggest challenge that I have in my work is statistically 95% of the population of this planet would rather stay stuck than take on this work.
Dang.
And when I first heard this a couple of years ago, and it was reinforced with the University of Texas coach, he talks about one of the reasons he works with the athletic department is elite athletes are part of the 2%, right? The people that make it to play any sport for the University of Texas, they are competitors. They are the top, and they are open to working on their mind.
Right.
But, in the home improvement industry, I mean, you've seen me at James Hardy. I mean, I speak to 300 contractors. I get maybe 10 that hear me and think, you know what? I mean, and again, nothing against the audience. I literally get feedback all the time of Shawn was too far out there, or he didn't give us the process that he uses. I gave the 30-minute process freely. The problem is, even when people go to pay for it, sometimes they're not willing to do it. So if you're listening, just know it's going to take a decision, a commitment to force yourself to spend 30 minutes a day. And that is a challenge, because your 95% subconscious mind is trying to keep you efficient and safe, and anything uncomfortable, it's going to try and keep you from doing it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And I can talk about one of them. My biggest excuse lately has been I'm too busy, but that's the reason I was pulled to it. Was that I don't want to be too busy, and I need to replace myself. I need to get out of this seat, and someone else needs to sit here. And I've been wanting that for a while. So, that was what pulled me. So if you're listening and you're like, I'm too busy, then do you want to be that busy? That's for me, where I'm like, I'm not happy doing that. And
again, you're never too busy to give yourself 30 minutes a day. You're not. I mean, literally, you could set the alarm for 30 minutes earlier and lay in bed and work on your mind.
Yeah. Right.
It takes no physical effort. You can literally lay there half asleep and listen to something while you're half asleep, and do your affirmations and your goal while you're half asleep. And do your gratitude as you finally wake up.
Yeah.
Like, there is no excuse. The problem is you don't believe it works. We're so programmed that I want to take physical action. I want to drive to the office. I want to work on the spreadsheets. I want to go sell people. I want to work with my crews. I want to go install products, right?
Right.
I don't believe that 30 minutes of laying in my bed, working on my mind, is actually worth 8 hours of physical work. And I believe it is. I believe that when I spend 30 minutes on my mind, I'm creating way more in the physical world than 8 hours of physical work.
So true. So true. So would your advice, if someone's not quite ready to jump in, would your advice still be to start with the 5 minutes of gratitude?
Yes. Listen to Brother David
for
30 days for 5 minutes. And if you like how you're feeling, at the end of 30 days. And I promise you, if you listen to that for 5 minutes, this is a money back guarantee. If you listen to it for 30 days and you don't feel better, look me up and hit me up and I'll Venmo you $100. I mean, literally, that's how much I believe in this. If you listen to it every day for 30 days, your mind will wrap around gratitude and remind you that you should be grateful. I mean, it's just a proven process that I've used and hundreds, if not thousands of people have used. Once you do that, then I would add, listen to 15 minutes of good mindset. Like, listen, I mean, Inner Blueprint, our podcast, we just dropped an episode right now. It's called What's in Your Toolkit. It's all about the science of writing things down. But and they're usually 30-minute to 45-minute episodes. Break them into chunks. It's literally 15 minutes a day.
Right.
And most people waste more than 15 minutes looking on social media, sitting in their chair, just being exhausted sometimes, right?
Yes.
Sit in your chair, be exhausted, put on the headphones, and put in a 15-minute. I mean, I listen to my material every day. I listen to Joe Dispenza every day. I listen to a little bit of Wayne. I'm always feeding my mind good information because I know it will program it for better success.
This has been awesome, Shawn. I knew it would be. So but thank you for being here. How do people get in touch with you? They want to learn more. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is my name is Shawn Feurer. And to date, I am the only Shawn Feurer. So if you go on any platform, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and type in my name, ShawnFeurer, you'll find one of my platforms. My website is ShawnFeurer.com. Get tons of free information. And then if you want to reach out to me, my website has a contact form. I do lots of 30-minute free strategy calls. If you want to hop on, have a conversation. And again, if you're interested in becoming a student, awesome. If you know somebody that might want to be a coach one day, I'm starting that group in January that we're adding a couple consultants to. So, my goal is bigger than my company. My goal is to help millions of people globally remove self-limiting beliefs, the chains that hold us all back, so more people may live their lives in their own version of freedom, abundance, fun, and love. And I wake up every day saying that, and I work every day towards that goal. So that really is the ripple effect of what I do. And I hope thousands of people get sent this episode, Jeremy, and listen to us talk about the power of your mind, because that's my goal.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shawn. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, that's been another episode of Construction Executives Live. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want that level of excitement in your life, go check it out. You want to be excited about your future like Shawn and I are, go check it out. He is a wealth of information, and you'll not be disappointed. So thanks again for being here. We will see you next month. Bye.
You've been listening to In the Zone and Construction Executives Live with Jeremy Owens. Be sure to subscribe to In the Zone and stay in the know with the best minds in the construction industry. To nominate an innovator or change maker in the construction industry, connect with your management peers, and stay up to date with construction industry news, be sure to visit usconstructionzone.com.